We are just 16 days from the presidential election, and the Kamala Harris campaign is attempting to shore up support from a demographic that has drifted somewhat from the Democratic Party, Black male voters. It's a problem the vice president has recently addressed, sitting down for interviews with several Black-focused media outlets, including the program hosted by my next guest. Joining me now is the host and managing editor of the Roland Martin Unfiltered show on the Black Star Network, Roland Martin. It's good to see you, my friend. And look, let's get right to this sit-down that you had with her. The vice president zeroed in on some of the racially charged comments that Donald Trump has made about Black Americans, and it going back for decades, and called him dangerous for this country. Let's take a listen to this. Here it is.
Look at it in the context of how he actually thinks and talks about Black folks in America. And you and I have talked about this before. He is not looking out for folks when he was a landlord and would not rent to Black families, sued for it. The first Black president of the United States, and he had birther lines. And now you look at Black immigrants, legal immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, and he gets on a debate stage and says they're eating their pets? Come on.
What was your overall takeaway from your interview with the vice president, Roland?
That she understands that you have to compete for votes. We talked about a variety of issues in those 30 minutes, and no vote can be taken for granted. And the reality is this here. Democrats have not been paying attention. There was a 9-point gap between Black men and Black women in 2012 between Obama and Romney. And I was one of the folks warning, saying, hey, you better understand what's going on. 5% of Black men voted for Republicans in 2008. It went to 11 in 2012. It jumped in 2016. Everyone assumed it was misogyny and sexism. That was not the case. And so what you have is you have folks who are focused on, a lot of Black men talk about economics. You also have the First Step Act that Trump took credit for, but it was Democrats in the House that actually got it passed. So what Democrats have failed to do is properly message. You have to be communicating with Black folks differently. I'm here at Friendship West Baptist Church in Dallas right now. This is going to be one of the early voting locations tomorrow here in Dallas County in Texas, where it begins tomorrow. Democrats have not talked about what they've done. They've made assumptions. And no, you now have to compete and communicate and talk to and target and micro-target. And so she understands that much better than the last 3 Democratic presidential candidates.
So to that end, I mean, despite Black voters, we should note, overwhelmingly supporting Harris, she is behind where President Biden's support was in 2020, behind by about 10 points or so. It reflects a longer trend of Black voters steadily fleeing the Democratic Party. So let's listen to a clip of conversations that NBC News had with Black voters. This is from Pennsylvania. Here it is.
I think both parties make the mistake of assuming that when you talk to Black men about criminal justice reform, you've answered our questions. But we are entrepreneurs, and we are business persons, and we are homeowners, and we are people with student loans because we graduated from college, and we want some real discussions around economic matters in the community. And so a myopic and parochial view of Black men makes some think that we have nothing to say, but that's just not the case.
So look, that man we just listened to, certainly reflecting what you just said, but I want to ask you if the panic around Black male voters is exaggerated or is it warranted in this razor-thin race? And then big picture, Roland, how do you account for the gradual erosion of overall Black support for Democrats?
Sure. Here's the first thing. There's not panic. I mean, I literally talked to the campaign, and I talked to folks high up in the campaign who don't have panic. You have to understand, the campaign was built for President Joe Biden. It wasn't built for Vice President Kamala Harris. It all changed in late July. And so you're not talking about a long period of time. And so you've seen some significant adjustments. I was at a dinner with her at the Vice President's residence along with other Black men in November 2023. And so she's been talking about these issues. She went on an opportunity tour. I covered her in Detroit. I covered her in Atlanta. She was in Atlanta twice. She was in Charlotte. So she's been discussing these issues, but she's not, frankly, been the focus for a lot of national media because Biden was. That's now changed. The second piece is this here. And this is what Democratic, and I'm going to be very clear, Democratic white strategists have to understand. First, you got to listen to the Black people in the campaign and in the Democratic Party. And so they're the ones who craft strategy. I'm 55 years old. I'm 56 in November. I'm that first generation of Black kids born after King's assassination. And so the reality is this here. When we go to college, we're actually making more than our parents. We're opening businesses, which means we're now focused on corporate tax rate. And so the thing is this here. The further you get away from the Black civil rights movement, the less Black people self-identify as Democrats. Now, they likely are going to vote Democrat. They don't self-identify, which means you have to now target the Black voter in 2024 different than 1984. And so that's the key. And I can't be any more frank. The problem, Alex, is that these campaigns and the money and the PACs are largely run by white Democratic strategists who do not understand the old model of only coming to a Black church or go and talk to NAACP. Boom, there you go. No, that's gone. It's not just barbershops and beauty shops. You now actually have to micro-target African Americans in a much different way than they've ever done. And that has been their mistake. Harris gets it, but now you're trying to play catch up because she came in so late in July. But that's really what's going on here. And it's been trending this way for the last 20 years. They simply weren't paying attention.
I'm glad you are, and I love talking with you. You are definitely unfiltered, Roland Martin, and I appreciate all your candor and expertise and insights. I'll see you again soon. Thank you, my friend.